Hi, Glenna. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. And what's your role? What do you do?
I am a KDE, Kentucky Department of Education consultant for the 21st Century Program here in Kentucky.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Have you had a chance to look at Learning Blade before?
I have not.
Oh, cool. Well, this is exciting. Well, I can't wait to show it to you. I think we'll wait a couple minutes to see um, if anyone else shows up. Normally, just with COVID and everything, it's been small turnout, so it could just be the two of us, but it might be three or four of us, and that'll be about it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll just give you a little background. We work with the 21st century learning communities in Idaho, as an example. They actually have a statewide contract to use it there. And so would love to work with you and your team after you take a look at what we're talking about here. And maybe this is something we can share in Kentucky.
Okay.
Yep. Great. Hi, Sherry. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you.
I apologize for not turning on my camera. I am battling Omicron right now, so you don't want to see me. So
Okay. Well, I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope you feel better quickly.
well, thank you.
Yeah, it's going through my family as well,
Yeah,
simultaneously.
yeah, both my sons had it and yep, now it's got me too. So
Same. Well, hopefully your symptoms are mild.
yeah, so far, thank you.
Yep. What do you do, Sherry?
I actually work at Berea Community High School. I work with the School Climate Team Grant. But we have started what's called the Pinnacle Academy, which is our career pathway courses within the school, and I'm the director of that. So,
Okay.
and
Awesome.
in my former life, I was a business and marketing teacher. So
Gotcha.
I have been in this area for quite some time. So I'm very interested to hear about all the information with STEM pathways.
Absolutely. So, and Tom from KYOSA wanted to be here, but he's also battling COVID. So he sends his regards, Glenna and Sherry. I think I'll get started. People might log in a little later, but you guys are on time. So let's kick
Okay.
it off. So my name's Josh. I work at Learning Blade and was a middle school math science teacher for 10 years. I had a chance to be an Albert Einstein Distinguished Education Fellow. But KYOSA, through the Million Girls Moonshot, has the ability to provide Learning Blade to all statewide after-school programs, which is so excited. So Glennon, there's no charge. You can sign up. I'll explain that in a second for the 21st Century Learning Centers, and Sherry for your after-school efforts. And hi, Alice. How are you?
Hello.
What do you do?
So I work with the city of Lexington in Kentucky in the Department of Environmental Quality and Public Works. And we have recently become more involved in after-school programming and out-of-school time programming.
Cool. Yeah, so we have some fun environmental lessons. I'll make sure I'll show you those as well.
Perfect.
Which is interesting because in Memphis, Tennessee, they use our environmental lessons with their after-school program as part of one of their there's students that go to a nature center after-school program /zoo /caretaker /thing, and they use our environmental science lessons as well. So I was just saying, Learning Blade is a free resource for you all. through the Million Girls Moonshot and STEM Next and then KYOSA. And so, you know, what we're doing is a series of webinars on the transformative practices from the STEM Next Opportunity Fund. Today's is on STEM transitions and pathways. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll show you Learning Blade and how it supports those STEM transitions and gets students into those pathways. But they like to, when you click on this link on STEM Next, it comes up with this 80-page document resource, which talks about connected learning, right? So it's a student's interests overlapping with the relationships they have with adults, and those adults bring them opportunities that generally students don't know because they're young and have a lack of awareness. So it's called the brokering, and I'll talk about that in a second, but one of the ways to engage students more in these pathways, in these high demand, high wage STEM pathways, is to try and overlap the knowledge of the adult with the knowledge interest of the student and the resources that are available. So when we think STEM transitions and STEM pathways, obviously STEM's in every sector because computers are part of every sector. So even in the arts, you know, I actually wrote an article that got published called STEM is not an acronym, but I tried to relate STEM to Hamilton, the play, right? Because in Hamilton, you have the set design, they use, you know, a lot of CNC machines and very precise things. The lighting is very electronic. The recording of the video for the Disney movie, obviously so much STEM, the marketing, the tickets, the money management. There's so much STEM in Hamilton, not the play, but in supporting that play. So STEM, STEAM, you name it. But there's, you know, all of the career clusters have STEM, and in Learning Blade, which is this resource now available to you all, we will introduce students to many of the careers and opportunities. So I like to think about it this way: students can't be what they can't see. And so what we want to do is help students recognize that in any field they're working in, there's a math connection, right? Math is going to be important. STEM jobs are supporting and really driving innovation in those industries. So what the STEM Next research is talking about is finding a fit when connecting youth to future opportunities. And to find a fit in the pathways involves bringing activities to the youth that are relevant to support their interests, their identities, right? Their emerging and emerging areas of expertise. So how can we do that, right? So a program like Learning Blade has 400 lessons around 100 careers. So you could get students say, hey, what do you think about this STEM pathway, this STEM career, this STEM opportunity, right? Providing opportunities where young people are appropriately challenged is really critical. So I call that Vygotsky, right? The zone of proximal learning. We want it where they are +1, right? We want to make it so it's challenging, but they can get there and learn from it. And it's obviously a safe environment. And Learning Blade's very controlled environments are very safe. And as we connect across the different settings, in order to support diverse learner pathways, educators form partners and broker connections. So this idea of brokering, I'm really trying to dig into this with you guys a little bit as we talk about STEM pathways, is you're going to have this resource Learning Blade, and then you have these, you know, out of school time experiences, after school time experience with the students. Because Learning Blade is so vast in what it in the learning experiences, you can really broker the student engagement where they're where you're providing them access to open resource, right? But also providing them this idea of brokering. So brokering the STEM pathways is this idea of helping, you know, here's where you have the youth and here's where you have the educator, and you're trying to connect those two, right? So the youth and the educator need to find that overlap. And that overlap is providing them unique learning experiences that are tailored. So differentiation is challenging, right? Because, you know, you got so many students at so many grade levels doing so many different things, then that becomes chaotic. In Learning Blade, which I can't wait to log in and show you, students log in and there's a plethora, or I'm thinking of that word for like all that food on the table. But there's a lot of lessons students can go and learn about, and it can increase their understanding of the opportunities. So that's really what we're wanting to do, is not think about the pathway as, okay, you go from elementary to high school to college, but to think about it more as a network of experiences. And this is really critical, because quite honestly, a 10-minute lesson in Learning Blade might just be a data point for that student on what an engineer does and what engineering looks like in the real world, and build a modicum of interest in engineering. So, getting students to think, I like to do this, I can learn this, I can practice that, and then I'll be this, right? So, but just thinking about it as a network where across your experiences with students, you're giving them data points, right? And different experiences that can help build the framework for their pathway choices. So what we're really trying to do is raise awareness for the students of the pathways, but for you guys of this resource, to engage now youth. Now in KYOSA, it was the Million Girls Initiative. So it's really about motivating girls in STEM. And I like to think of myself as a STEMinist, right? I got 3 daughters. I've written books about girls in STEM. But really, the data about girls in STEM is that they need to develop this engineering mindset. And so, in terms of getting girls into the STEM pathways, we have to, be culturally responsive, show them examples and stories of people that have similar backgrounds and ethnicities and cultures. Show them the social connections. Socially relevant project is so huge. 92% of girls want a job that helps people. So how are we connecting their math and science to help it, right? Create opportunities for hands-on STEM. You'll see in Learning Blade, we have 100 hours of hands-on lessons, and then it provides them with many role models. So, equity, inclusion, develop this engineering mindset, show them role models and the transitions that are available and the connections. So an engineering mindset, this is from the Million Girls Moonshot, is, the ability, all these things here, working in teams, exploring materials. So I call that like, it's almost like literacy, right? You're developing a literacy or a fluency with a material, tape and cardboard, and how do you use it, clay. Giving them real world problems, balancing the criteria of constraints, and some of our hands-on projects will do that. Definitely envisioning multiple solutions and identifying as engineers. That's a big one, big one, and Learning Blade's gonna tackle that in a serious way. So Learning Blade, this free program now for you guys, is going to address these transformative practice areas and make STEM careers accessible, right? I will just be honest, I travel around the country. I've trained thousands of educators and after-school teachers alike, and so many of them, their students do not get career exploration early enough. So that's really what we're talking about here. How do you get kids, especially low-income students or students of diverse backgrounds, into STEM? Critical component is showing them STEM careers so they get excited. So we're gonna, in Learning Blade, in terms of the engineering mindset, we got, 100 plus lessons on engineering concepts that show the role models and the connections to real world problem solving. So that's what we want to do. We want to provide context. We want to expose students to the STEM pathways. But back to that brokering idea, we want to do it in a way where students are learning about something they're personally interested in. And the thing is, students don't know what they don't know, right? So you can't be what you can't see. So part of it is just open exploration in the middle grades. Learning Blade, I should say this to everyone, is a grade 5 through 9 program. You can use it probably upper grades more than that. And there's some elements, some of our video lessons that can go to lower grades, but that's the standards alignment. So everything that they do in Learning Blade is aligned to standards. And it's designed to help really the middle school grade band, most importantly, start making connections to some careers. So this blows my mind, you guys. 94% of middle school students make career decisions. And when I peel that back and I think about it, what it's really saying is when a student chooses at 12 or 13 years old that they don't like math, that's a career decision, right? That's choosing pathways that are, or crossing off some of the STEM pathways, right? They're 12. What do they really know about real world mathematics and how it applies to solving equations, right? Or solving problems. So they haven't got that context yet. And I'll show you data. Learning Blade builds that context. So here's the missions in Learning Blade. There's 12 on the screen. We just added a 13th introduction to coding. And you know, the missions are problems. So you could ask a student in an after school setting, which one of these problems looks most interesting to you? Which one would you most like to solve? Is it climate change, right? Is it energy issues? Is it, you know, helping people after earthquakes? Is it, you know, looking at biomedicine and helping animals? Is it getting more fresh food into community? Is it robotics and building them for, you know, life-saving purposes? Is it obviously with the pandemic? Is it about, you know, dealing with pandemic situations? So we've got all these problems, and then we're going to show students the careers and technologies that help solve those problems. And we do that by having 400 online lessons. So the lessons are short, they're quick, and I'm going to show everyone today like the quick and easy, simple way of getting in there. There's career videos. So a student could just in extended. So here's how I think about extended learning time, if I may. You guys are the experts, not me, but I've talked to a bunch of different extended learning time and after school time people. Oftentimes you start with, oh, let's get our academic work done. And oftentimes there's students who say, I don't have any, right? I got nothing to do. And so this could be a chance for, you know, this student A needs to finish their math homework. The student B says they don't have anything, or truly they finished it all. Or maybe they start, it's a 45-minute block of time and they do their 10 minutes and they're done. Well, now what do? You could have them log into Learning Blade and explore and be the broker that's bringing those connections to them. Maybe they watch the videos in the younger grades, or maybe they do some math and science lessons in the upper grades. Or maybe you bring in some of the hands-on projects, right? So we have lots of projects, ideas, and I'll show you those. Environmental project ideas, environmental project for design thinking, some simple hands-on scissor and glue stick activities with Papercraft, and then a lot of coding activities, really get students coding. The lessons work offline if students have Chromebooks through an app in the Google Play Store. So that's exciting. And the goal is to introduce students to the wide range of STEM and CS and CTE careers. So by using Learning Blade, we're hoping to expose students across the disciplines, across the pathways, and get them to see that, oh my gosh, everything I'm learning in school will relate to my future out of school, right? And I got that possibly from the time I spent with my after school organization. These are what the missions look like. Excuse me. The missions each mission has 5 technologies that students can learn about. Social media is a technology, vaccines is a technology, air ambulance is a technology, right? And then 5 careers. Those are the green circles. And so, and you'll notice each circle has a social studies, an English, a science, and a math lesson, as well as all the green circles have video lessons. So, you know, and these lessons race against the clock. Math, I'll go to a bigger screen. Oh, I don't have a bigger screen? Let me see. Nope. Okay, sorry. So the lesson race against the clock. Math, excuse me. That's a 10-minute activity. So, excuse me. Another way that you could use Learning Blade is just that at the start of their block of time with you in your program, come in, use a computer, or do this hands-on activity, or do this, and you just have it so that you have a quiet entry, calm. You know what you're doing. You come in, and you're going to do Learning Blade for 10 minutes. You're going to learn every day. You're learning a little bit something new, and then we can go do our other thing. So there's just so many opportunities because there's 400 of these little lessons, right? A day in the life of a computer programmer, a day in the life of a database administrator, you know, a day in the life of a paramedic. So many students say they want to be doctors when they grow up, but do we ever, as educators, connect them with, well, there's other pathways. Paramedics, you get to help people as well. Therapists, you get to help people as well. Yeah, doctors, nurses, then there's the engineers designing the new technologies that are going into people and onto people. So there's lots of different ways, you know, whether you're a medical technician and you're doing the scanning or the x-ray technician, so on and so forth. So really helping students get a broader, bigger, deeper view of the opportunities. You guys have any questions or comments? Any thoughts so far? I know I just keep talking. I'm a talker. Does having 400 mini lessons sound like something that would be beneficial?
Most definitely. I mean, and this is something that we stress here in Kentucky with our 21st century programs too, especially in the middle school and high school. They are to address transition readiness into the, in middle school, it's more of a research and defined, and then in high school, it's more specific, but this is a great resource.
Awesome. Thank you, Glenna. And I will just say in my experience with 21st century learning communities, one of the comments I got from a teacher that uses this well is that she doesn't have to stay up all night planning, right? They know when they come to class like that, when the students come, they have an activity that they can do that is rigorous, it's aligned to that goal, and it's self-paced. Go ahead, Glenna.
Very true.
Yeah. So, you know, anytime you add a resource set to an after school educator or any educator, and it's easy to use and implement, they're going to appreciate it. And that's what you have here. So students click on a mission, full or express. The full mission gives them all 8 hours of lessons. They don't have to do them all, but they have access to them all. The express mission gives them 2 hours of lessons in case they want to finish it. So, you know, one of the things you could do is set a goal. Any, you know, student in my program who finishes an express mission by this date gets a lollipop, gets this, gets that, gets an extra hour outside, gets a ticket, gets a whatever, you know, the incentives are. That's what teachers and educators do. They build incentives to motivate students. You can see it's very visual, the interface, lots of pictures. It's keeping score. So it doesn't have to be like score based, meaning like you don't have to hold them accountable for their score, but some students like to know how they're doing, and it's keeping track of that. These are all hyperlinks. There's no correct order. So a student would click on a hyperlink and then, you know, they would go into a lesson. And then the lessons are what we find to be the most lacking skill for college and career readiness, reading informational text. So this is rigor. This is sort of aligned to that idea of growing the learner through reading informational text about STEM and technology and careers, and then seeing how academics aligns and relates. And so there's 400 of these lessons. The nice thing about the lessons, there is an audio track on every page, so it will read to the students. Every question is immediately followed by the correct answer. So a student is never waiting to figure out, oh, what is the right answer. And what it's doing is it's introducing them to careers that in all likelihood, I can guarantee your students, especially in the middle grades, and even up through 9th and 10th grade, they've never heard of a UI UX designer and like an industrial designer, information security analyst, right? We want them to see these high demand, high wage careers. It's aligned to standards, so you're getting a standards report. You can search the standards, but in the after school, it's really, to me, it's more about the enrichment and the exploration for the student. And our experience has been that just a little bit. So this doesn't have to be hours of after school time. It can be 10 minutes a week. You know, every Monday or Friday, you know, whoever's in my program, we're going to do 10 minutes of learning blade. We're going to learn about a career and talk about it for 5 minutes. That's what they did in Parma. They did it in Idaho. They did it as a group. As a group, they chose the fresh food mission and actually lived in a rural community. And the students didn't realize all the math and science connections to, and then they had discussion. So they did a 10-minute lesson as an after school group, and then they had a discussion, and then they went on to whatever their next thing was, right? So Learning Blade provided that after school 21st century learning community a chance to have a touch point, a learning, a career exploration, and a discussion, and then they did their next thing, whatever that was. But you can see here, just a little bit of Learning Blade goes a long way in increasing students recognizing what I learned in school will be useful later in life. You guys probably know as well as I do that middle school and young people, right around that transition from concrete to abstract, when their frontal lobe's growing, students start to ask the question, when am I ever really going to use this? And that's when we lose students in math and science. They don't like math. That teacher doesn't give them good answers. Well, you'll use this if you build a house. I don't want to build houses, right? I want to work in the energy field. So if it's not making a connection, then we can lose students. But this is making the connection that what they're learning will be useful. And it's doubling the number of students interested in the STEM profession. So today's webinar is about STEM pathways. And so introducing students to the career opportunities will introduce them to the STEM pathways they haven't heard of. Sherry and Alice and Malika, have you guys, and Glenna, have you guys heard of the CSI effect? Has anyone heard of that? You can put yes, no in the chat box or unmute and say yes, no.
I have not.
I have not either.
So have you ever watched the show Crime Scene Investigators?
Yes.
Yes.
So, right. So in 1999, that was the first year the show came out. And it was #1 in the US. It was like, wow, that's the best show ever, right? It was so cool, so new, so unique. And the next year at university, there was a 2,000% increase in students enrolling in forensics classes. So yes, that show was, you know, HBO quality, like amazing special effects. But I think the reason there was a massive increase, they called the CSI effect, and interest in forensics was the career awareness was open. Oh, there's a career path there. Never thought about that. So the Learning Blade effect, much like the CSI effect, is just a little dabble of career exploration here and there throughout your after school, out of school time, summer school programming will create this impact of doubling the students' interest, right, in these professions. In Kentucky, we've already had some great success, almost 500,000 lessons completed. And you can see there's been, you know, teacher feedback. I remember Principal Rebecca Morrison. She actually I have a video of her talking about how it improved her students' test scores on the state exams because it's prepping them for that. But lots of news in Kentucky about schools using Learning Blade like a field trip, right? So Yellow Creek, the students went to the car manufacturing plant. I believe it was a Toyota plant. And so they went to the Toyota plant, but before they went, they did the Learning Blade car manufacturing mission. So that way, when they saw the careers, they better understood them. And here's a great way of using Learning Blade in after school would be, what do the parents do? Make a quick catalog list of the parents and after school. What do your parents do if they don't mind answering it when you pick them up? And then have the student explore those similar or related careers in Learning Blade to get a better sense of what mom, dad, caregiver does in their time. So I also mentioned there's hands-on projects. So like build a rubber band car, right? This is with the recyclable materials. I'm sure you can find some pencils and a paper towel roll and some rubber bands. And then the tires, you can use anything. You can use tennis balls, you can use bottle caps, you can use CDs, you can use whatever you want, right? You know, we have projects for 3D printers, hands-on project. Like this one's design your own app, right? So it's just a paper design. It's not like actually build it. It's think about it. If you could build an app, what would it be? Well, guess what? There's people who do that for a living, who build apps for a living, app designers. And this is sort of what they do. They brainstorm or map it out in something called a framework. And then we have, you know, discussion prompts for starting discussions and all sorts of good stuff. So I want to show you live. Let me show you the steps. If you want Learning Blade, so for example, Glenna, we could, if you wanted, we can do this later, have a conversation offline or whatever. But you could just share learningblade.com/KYOSA with any of your, you know, 21st century communities. And they would just say they want a new account for not a school. And then they would type in their name and they'd type in, you know, 21st CCLC. And then, you know, they click send it. And then tomorrow we're going to send them a license to Learning Blade. Same with you, Sherry and Alice and Miss McPeak. I'm not sure how to pronounce your first name. I apologize. So yeah, so that's what you go, learningblade.com/KYOSA. That is the step, okay? Once you get that, oops. We're gonna send you a username and password. And here's the important part. We will send you already a student self-sign-up code. With that student self-sign-up code, your students can just log in. It's going to say KYOSA is the school name, and then it's your class name will be, you know, your center, whatever your location is, and then your center can just have students use that class code. Here's student Josh, right? Last name Snyderman, and then they do create their own usernames and passwords, and that is a tricky situation. Just want to give you my advice on that. I would not let Sherry, my after-school learner, create her own username and password. I would say, Sherry, your username should be your first name dot last name dot after school or dot KYOSA or dot something unique. So that way it's unique. And all of us in this program after school are going to use the mascot, the school mascot, as our password. So we're the Bears, BEARS, right? Type it in. So it's josh.snyderman.KYOSA and our password's bears or whatever it is we create. And then, you know, you don't have to reset passwords every time students log in. But then once the student creates their username and password, they can just log in, which I'm doing now as a student. And they can explore, right? They can bounce around. We just added new coding lessons so they can learn to code. They can learn about computer science careers, right? They can learn about energy careers. So if I click on start the full mission, thank you, Sherry. Every mission begins with a story about what's the critical situation, what's happening. There's a video lesson, so it's nice.
With the area's demand for power steadily increasing, your city council is requesting public input on meeting your energy needs. The council chairperson begins the citywide forum by explaining the city's aging coal-fueled power plants can't keep up with the growing demand for energy. He goes on to explain the council's desire to move away from the higher polluting power plants to more sustainable energy sources. As you listen to his presentation, you consider how the city's energy crisis could be solved, and you realize the solution will require energy experts and their latest technologies. The presentation begins by covering how the power grid.
So they're going to learn about the different parts, right, of this mission. They're going to learn about the different careers in the mission. Power engineer, environmental engineer, environment. So here you are, Alice, our environmental lessons, right? Environmental engineer, environmental protection specialist. And then they're going to get dropped in the lesson. And once they're in the lesson, they can learn about emissions or energy conservation or renewable energy. Or if we went to environmental protection specialist, right? There's a social studies lesson, a debate on renewable versus non-renewable fuels, a science lesson on what are fossil fuels, right? how to become an environmental protection specialist. I really like our about the career lessons, right? So in this case, there's audio track on every page.
How to become an environmental protection specialist. Some of you may have dreamt about growing up to be a scientist, an environmental lawyer, or maybe even an environmental engineer. Believe it or not, those are all possibilities if you work for the EPA.
So we're really trying to expose students to those opportunities and get them to understand that, hey, you can be that someday. They're going to learn about what is the EPA, you know, learn a little bit about Earth. So what does EPA stand for, or what's their mission, right? That's based on the reading. So it's a pretty simple question if you read, right? The text, what their goal is. Every question is followed by the correct answer. So this lesson might take 12 minutes to finish. Nice chunk of learning about a career path for the student. You know, practicing an English standard. What's the main clause? Right? And then learning again, the correct answer explains what main clause is. And, you know, that sort of thing. So learning about Earth Day. There's also these video lessons, which I think are superb because they show the earnings potential, really connect young people to the fact that, you know, this career as an EPA specialist, as you watch the 1-minute video, so it's not going to take long. If you get it wrong, you get 2 tries. Again, the right answer is on the next page. If you don't try, you can't go forward. So you gotta, again, if you get it wrong, I want to just show you can't go forward. You got to try it twice. If you get it wrong twice, you still can go forward. So you're not being locked out of the lesson. And then page 7 sort of tells them, wow, the median salary, right? So if you're great at your job, you're going to make more than that. But it's showing them those. So we have a video lesson. We've got this English lesson. Hey, Debbie. Did I hear you say wow? Debbie? Hi, you're unmuted. There we go. Now Debbie's muted. Hi, Debbie. So you have 400 of these lessons. Even a math lesson, you know, for this, there are kids that love math, right? My daughters all will tell you their favorite class is math. I've worked really hard for that. But in this case, they're going to learn about, you know, the fuel stickers on cars and, you know, miles per gallon, right? And then maybe they'll even ask their parent, how many gallons are in our car? How many miles did you drive with it, right? So, and then it shows how to properly set up the equation. So the teacher, the after-school educator, doesn't need to be a math teacher to do this. The student's going to see the correct answer. It was 756 divided by 15. And so on and so forth. So learning all about different concepts, different careers, and then obviously this is bounce aroundable. You don't have to finish it. You can say, I want to go see what the environmental engineer does. Okay, here's the video, here's the math lesson, here's a day in the life of an environmental engineer, right? So there's 400 of these online lessons, and it's keeping score so students know how they're doing. And now I'm going to log in on the teacher side, and I just want to show you that. Okay, so this is just an instruction. If Alice or Sherry, if you're going to go ahead and get your Learning Blade account and use it, you can create as many classes as you want, right? So you can make new classes by clicking the green Create a Class button, and your classes have class codes. So you can make 2 classes, 3 classes, but if you just want to put all your after school in one class, we've already created a class code for you. And when you get into your class, you know, you can add work for them. Say, I want you all to do this mission, and you can assign it. You don't have to do this because they have access. Or you could actually, you know, you can see the reports here, so you can see how they're doing. So if you do want to just encourage them and say, hey, I see you doing so much work in Learning Blade, congratulations, you know, Maybe you have a little star chart, a leaderboard chart, or whatever you want to do. You can even see their scores by switching the tab here. So you have access to that information if you want it. And then the last thing I want to show you guys is the resources page. Yeah. So the resources page is where we have lesson plans. So everything I showed you so far, I've sort of been talking about that online student career exploration, 400 online lessons, let the students choose, let them learn, be a broker for what's their interest and how can I show you something in your interest field. But then on this side here, these folders are full of lesson plan ideas. So our mission challenges are our hands-on projects. And again, I'm logged in as a teacher. I click the resources and I want to show you hands-on projects. So you could do something like, this is one of my favorite, just little activities to do with students. It's called the Tinfoil Boat. So fun, it just reminds me of camp, but it also reminds me of learning in a fun way. It's what you do is you, it's loading, it looks like, yep. You give students a tinfoil, everyone the same piece of tinfoil. Maybe you plug the sink or bring in a tub and fill it halfway with water. And then students build their boat. Like, so I gave everyone, all 4 of us here, 5 of us here, a separate piece of tinfoil, right? The same size. Now you build your boat. I'm going to build mine. You're going to build yours, but we're going to put pennies in it and see whose boat can carry the most pennies. And what you'll find if you do the actual worksheet, which you don't have to do, right? It's just enough to build the boat because you're going to make connections with buoyancy and density and volume. But if you did the worksheet on building a boat, you would realize if you measure it before you put it in the water and put pennies in it, the boat with the biggest volume probably will be the boat that wins. Length times width times height. Whoever designs their formula, so that way it's got the greatest length times width times height, is probably going to win if their edges are nice and straight and so on. So yeah, so there's like a simple project that you could do. Literally, the only thing you got to bring in is some pennies and some tinfoil, maybe a tub of water. If you got a sink, I would just plug the sink. So we have ideas like that, right? For the energy one, this is a little bit more complex, but just as fun. Have students build a wind turbine with recyclable water bottles, right? So 2 water bottles, you cut one, you turn it upside down, you put water at the bottom of the other one, you poke a hole through the straw, and then you build your blade and put some blades on it, and then put it in front of a fan and have it spin. But here's the thing, you could measure how fast they spin by counting rotations or putting a 1 meter piece of string on it and seeing whose rolls it up fastest, and have it turn into a competition if you wanted to do that. Don't always have to be a competition. And then something that I just get universally, teachers love this for all settings, is we have this thing called Papercraft. So you guys know as well as I do, young people love Minecraft. They're crazy about it. So we've designed a Minecraft figure for every career in Learning Blade. Here's our automotive designer. And on the back of his head, it describes what an automotive designer does. And every tool and technology in Learning Blade, here's our mechanical drafter, female, obviously. So every career in Learning Blade has a little thing. So you print it out, black and white or in color, whatever. They grab some scissors and a glue stick, they cut out the body, they cut out the arms, they cut out the head, they glue it together. And now they've got a little Minecraft person. So nice hands-on project. Takes about 20 minutes to complete. Fine motor skills, also learning about careers. If you printed out a bunch of different careers, you could say, hey, which career do you want? And then let's read. Okay, Alice, will you read your career? Read the back of the head. Josh, read yours. All right, we learned a little bit. Let's move on, right? So that's what you have in Learning Blade and through KYOSA and the Million Girls Moonshot. Access for your students. And I'll just remind you, so your students would come to learningblade.com. They would click the login button, and then you would want them to click the student self sign up button and enter that code, whatever your code is. We'll give it to you after you sign up. So that's the run of it. what questions do you guys have? So let me address Glenna, because I think you're probably, you have the broadest reach. This is an introduction, and I'm happy to do as many of these as we need for your community. So maybe there's a time when some of the directors are together, we can show them, maybe some time when some of the after school staff, we can just email us and schedule, and we'll do this again as much as needed.
Do we email you, Joshua?
Yeah, I'm putting my email in the chat box. It's joshua@learningblade.com. And you would just email me and tell me the date and time. And if I can't be there, one of our team can. So just say this date, this time, and the answer is yes. And we can do like a 20-minute, here's what it is. We can do like today, 45 minutes. Here's a deep dive. We can go even further and spend an hour and a half. And now at this point, I transition to saying, okay, let's have you log in. Let's have you create your classes.
So we could actually do like an hour, just like you're doing here with our 21st century grantees online.
Exactly. I would love to do that. Absolutely. That would be spectacular.
Okay. I just need to talk to my supervisor, Bridget Stacy, who is the SEA for the 21st century here in Kentucky.
Sure.
And I'm really impressed with it. And transition readiness is an area that we find that a lot of our middle school grantees have trouble with.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'm very interested in it.
And I'll send you my slides. I think I have your email because you registered today. So I'll find your email and I'll send you slides so you have them.
Oh, that would be awesome. Then I can show Bridget a little bit.
Yep. And then, hey, Debbie. Yeah, I was gonna say I saw you on mute. What's up, Debbie?
So I want to apologize. I totally forgot that this started at 10:30, but I caught the
Okay.
tail end of it and I love it. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the whole slide because is this something that's available to us for free or is it a cost?
No, it is free. So you would come to learningblade.com KYOSA to request your account, Debbie.
Okay.
Takes about 30 seconds to fill it out. You'd say you want a new account for your organization, then just type in the name of your after school organization. Excuse me. And then we'll send you your login.
So this is something, because I'm the coordinator, I'm not the teacher. Would my teachers be able to access this?
Absolutely, yes. So it's free because I'll just show you the one slide. We are in partnership with the Million Girls Moonshot through
Okay.
KYOSA. KYOSA got a grant for Million Girls Moonshot. So obviously we'd love to have girls using this program, but it's for all students, right? And all programs after school in Kentucky.
Wow. Now that's a real wow for you. That's
Well,
nice.
Do you know Tom personally?
I don't.
Oh, Tom from KYOSA. Okay, I was gonna say you could tell Tom wow, but I'll tell him Debbie says wow. So what's your program, Debbie?
I have a 21st century program in an elementary school.
Yep.
So one of the things that we're challenged by, of course, is, I can see the vision for the program, but when I try to explain it to my teachers, you're planning activities that are fun activities that have math and literacy in it. You just made it visual, and I love that.
And easy, right? So that
Easy,
way it's
right.
actually, there's not a prep. There's no prep time. It's let's log in and do a different Learning Blade lesson today. That's
Exactly.
the prep time. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So
And yeah. And so that's great. Well, thank you, Debbie. And Glenna, Glenna works with 21st Century. So Glenna, do you know Debbie? Debbie, do you know Glenna?
I do not, Debbie. Which grantee or which county are you from?
I'm in Jefferson County at
Okay,
Slaughter
Leslie
Elementary.
Spears. Yeah, Leslie Spears is your KDE consultant.
Exactly. Yep.
I do have a question for you, Joshua. You said that you all had a contract with Idaho 21st Century Program.
Yes.
So what's the contract for if the program is free already? Is it just
It's
free
free
right
in
now in Kentucky? Okay.
Well, somebody pays for it, right? So
Yeah, right.
it's
Okay.
It's free for
Oh,
you
so-
all because
yeah.
of the grant for Million Girls Moonshot. In
Okay, that's what
Kentucky,
I'm.
in Idaho, they purchased it. The 21st Century Learning Center communities purchased it last year. This year, the governor purchased it for the whole state.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Okay, great.
Good question. Okay, well, I'm going to send you guys an email with the slides. And then also, if you have any questions or want to schedule training for additional people. And Glenn, it sounds like there's others of you for different regions. So if you can share this information, please do, please.
I will. Yes, there's three of consultants who serve the state of Kentucky, and then Bridget Stacy is our SEA for the 21st Century Program. So I
Perfect.
will definitely share with my colleagues.
Well, I'm happy to do a presentation for the three of you if you'd like that.
Oh,
Thank
that may be
you.
wonderful too. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Alice.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, and good luck, everyone.
Yep.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Bye.